Vaxx and the Sentinel teleported away, appearing in thick fog. The Sentinel looked down at the ground. What appeared to be purple flames shone and pulsed through cracks in the stone cobble floor of the dark room. A light shone from far above them. A hole in the ceiling shone a spotlight through thick fog that seemed to be pushing at the Sentinel's lungs. Something about their location was unnerving, and he could see it in Vaxx's face, too. "Where are we?" the Sentinel asked. He could tell the only thing keeping him alive in a deadly atmosphere was the box. "Where it started? For you, at least." Vaxx clapped her hands, and a short vertical boost wave of plasma pushed the fog around them away. In front of the Sentinel stood a massive metallic structure, reacting to the wave of plasma. It opened like a flower, elegantly and slowly. The Sentinel took a step back, startled. He looked to Vaxx confused, then back at the structure. He walked forward and stepped over a threshold, closer to the machine. "They weren't kidding when they said these machines were indestructible," he remarked, quickly pulling his hand back away before touching the machine. He turned around. "Why'd you take me here?" The Sentinel looked at Vaxx with fear in his eyes. "The Gars aren't—" "No, they're not back," Vaxx smiled. "I wanted to show you how we could use these machines to our advantage." "What do you mean?" The Sentinel turned his attention back to the ancient Garish machine. "We're coming home. We're bringing Janistar to Canada Prime. Earth. I always preferred the old name." Vaxx patted the machine. "What about—" The Sentinel couldn't separate his eyes from the device. "I heard about your little Amalga 5 side project. I can move it here too if you want. Already planning on it. We plan on having 3 similarly sized planets all in orbit around each other with a space station in the middle." "A space station?" The Sentinel lifted a brow. "We call it the Pantheon, named after this place." Vaxx gestured to the machine and the building over it. "How long have you been working on this?" The Sentinel stepped away from the machine. "A few years." Vaxx pressed a button on her remote. The Sentinel flinched when she did, and she noticed. "It's just a regular remote, Sentinel." A beam of light shot up from the machine closest to them, and several others followed from around the world, shooting up into the sky. "Janistar should be here in about 10 months. Amalga 5 will come just a bit after that. The Pantheon's already in orbit if you want to see it." The Sentinel nodded. "Let's go." Vaxx grabbed the Sentinel's metallic arm and they flashed away. The Pantheon space station appeared as a black, slow-spinning pyramid floating above an identical upside-down pyramid. It orbited in a proximity to Earth half that of the moon's. Each pyramid had its own gravity. Each one's downward gravity was focused on the square face of the pyramid, making the glass tips of each pyramid their respective tops. The empty space in between the pyramids acted as a hangar. The space station itself was massive, but the room they flashed into was small, and reminded the Sentinel much of Vaxx's spaceship. They appeared near a window with a view of the distant dead Earth. "Look at it, Vaxx." The Sentinel crossed his arms behind his back. "What I did was a mistake. Without the dent in Rogar's army that you made, the war wouldn't have ended when it did, Sentinel. It was the best you could do." "I saved 5 billion people," the Sentinel whispered. "Exactly," Vaxx smiled. "And I killed 4 billion. 4 billion people." The Sentinel sat down at a nearby table. He rested his face into his hands. "The population of Canada Prime at the time was 9 billion, and I could only save 5. I carry that with me every day. I let you phase, I left you alone. I let Daru be killed, I let my friend die, I let Amara die, I killed her daughter. I let Quinn's brother die, and if you don't remember, let me refresh your memory, in her future, I let Quinn die. And in the end, to end that war, I killed Rogar. I can't escape it. I'm not a Sentinel, I'm a killer. I've killed more than I've saved." Vaxx couldn't think of anything comforting to say. "Sentinel, you did your best to protect them. They aren't gone. I thought the Paradox Master told you. After his mission with the spaceships and the evac, he sent his box out to teleport everyone individually. At the same moment. Everyone was saved." The Sentinel looked up at Vaxx. "What?" "Your protective instincts didn't fail you. You made the right decision." The Sentinel's shoulders relaxed, his eyes widened as realization hit him. Relief washed over him. He stopped clenching his fists. A smile started to turn the tips of his mouth up, but it quickly faded as doubt sunk in again. "Did I? The Earth is still lost because of it. Ruined. And now with another war at hand, the only way to keep everyone safe is to keep fighting. Keep killing. That seems to be all I can do. I can't risk making a mistake again." "It wasn't a mistake, it all turned out fine," Vaxx argued. "And what if it doesn't next time? And saying it's all fine is a bit of an overstatement, don't you think? Even if everyone survived, it doesn't change that their homes were lost. It doesn't eliminate the trauma they experienced because of a decision I made on a whim because it felt like the right thing to do at the time. The war would be better off without me. The universe would be better off without me." "You can't just leave the universe." "I have. A version of me branched and became that stupid Paradox Master. He gets to live worry-free up in the extraverse outside of every universe. Do I fear death, embrace it, or laugh in the face of it? Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think the Paradox Master fears it. He's a coward." The Sentinel stood up and looked out of the nearest window, into space. Vaxx pursed her lips, leaning against the window and staring off into the starry void, watching Earth closely. She made a quick popping sound with her mouth and sighed. Sometimes knowing more than you hurts, you know that? You know more than me? The Sentinel stepped closer to her. Crazy, I know. The worst part is, I'm not even allowed to say anything to you about it. The Sentinel held up a finger. And before you can ask why, Vaxx responded quickly before he could say anything. He put down his hand. Because if I did, the paradoxes that would occur would be... Oh, the Sentinel realized what she meant. You've been talking with the Paradox Master. I think the best advice I could give you right now is to embrace who you are and what you do. Acknowledge that sacrifices need to be made in order for certain things to work the way they need to do. Only then will you have peace of mind. What does he mean by that? The Sentinel demanded. I wasn't quoting. That's my own advice. Please take it. She looked into his eyes, concerned. So, in 3047, the world ended? Quinn requested clarification from the Sentinel. It was nearly a month later. Quinn, Foxtrot, and Vaxx sat around a table in the Pantheon with the Sentinel on the other side. He was explaining to Quinn, with the help of Vaxx, the history of everything past 2055 so she could fully grasp what was happening. And now you're resurrecting it and bringing 2 more planets to it because... Power and numbers. The Sentinel nodded. But you said the only 2 places you can find Calcura speed naturally are minefields on Janistar and the moon of Amalga 5, which used to be the core of Ilios. Yeah. The Sentinel confirmed Quinn's suspicions. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm no genius or military strategist or anything, but wouldn't it be a pretty bad idea to put both sources of Calculus B, the thing the enemy is looking for, in the same convenient place? A short silence followed. A blank expression covered the Sentinel and Vaxx's faces. You're right. Foxtrot spoke softly. Quinn, I like that you're being cautious here, but I have this under control. The Sentinel assured her. They're easier to protect if they're closer, and war hasn't technically started. Gonna try to make a deal with them. More politics, Sentinel? Vaxx looked away. Who are you gonna bargain with? Foxtrot scoffed. Vistor will want nothing to do with you, not after what you did to him. You can't control yourself around Concha, and who knows what they're planning to do with Arlo. Ray. I'm not going to Ilsos, I'm going to Andrometron. See if we can get the Andromedans on our side. Ilsos seems to have gone rogue. The Sentinel thought about it for a second. I'll go in the morning. I'll come with you when you do, Quinn spoke up. If you go alone, who knows what could happen. Fair enough, the Sentinel admitted. Come on, Quinn, let's get back to the lab. The Sentinel managed to get sleep that night, but his dreams reminded him of why he stayed awake. Hey, Sentinel? Vaxx's first incarnation, young and innocent, spoke softly to him in his dream. What? The Sentinel's second incarnation asked with his distinctive, chillingly cold voice. Why are you being nice to me all of a sudden? You know, when we met, you were kind of being a jerk. I mean, not unwarranted, but, you know. I haven't talked to a single person in a couple of years. His second incarnation responded calmly. After losing my best friend and daughter, I didn't feel like getting attached to anyone, and unsurprisingly something happened to them because I'm dangerous. He looked down at the box. Its old orange design glowed passively. Oh, Vaxx said under her breath. When the terrorists trapped us in our minds, what did you see? He asked. Nothing. Vaxx was quick to respond. Really? I find that hard to believe. The Sentinel insisted skeptically. She sighed. I saw the universe ending. A TV with a face, an empty suit, and a wedding dress next to some guns. Also, it was in space? Or somewhere? There were thrones. The Sentinel's dream shifted. His surroundings melted away and shifted like liquid into an entirely new setting. He stood in the Extraverse as his third incarnation, confronting the Paradox Master. I don't understand. What does this have to do with me? The third Sentinel laughed nervously. Life and death looked away, focusing down beneath them. The ethereal being in a throne of plasma, Celeste, stood up and glanced at the empty throne of planets behind him. He looked at the Sentinel, and his voice whispered through his mind. Fear the empty throne. Celeste vanished slowly. The Sentinel's dream shifted once again. The blues and blacks of space and the Extraverse faded. The image was quickly replaced by the sands of Ilios 2 after Rogar's rampage that wiped out the Gars. Eternal flames burned on anything flammable. Explosion craters scattered the once relatively flat landscape. Bodies of dead, burning Gars littered the vast expanse. This is a good thing for us, right? Amara asked the fifth Sentinel, hopeful. I mean, with less Gars and potential infighting, you could win this war, right? The fifth Sentinel looked down at the ground. He picked up a broken remote with only a singular red button and examined it, confused. He did this. Alone. The Sentinel looked over the bodies. He's testing his strength. The Sentinel kneeled, feeling the dirt, letting go of the remote. If he could do this to other Gars, what does he need an alliance for? Imagine what he could do to Janistar. The Sentinel stared off in the distance. He thought he saw a figure standing in a cloud of dust. His coattails blew in the wind, and in place of his head was some sort of rectangular helmet. The sentinel blinked, and the figure was gone. His dream went dark, and all he could hear was static. A faint laughing circled his mind. Ray's face flashed before him, and everything went dark again. The darkness shifted to a red as a galactic shape swirled before him. The sentinel heard screaming and a light rumbling of distant thunder. The sentinel woke up in a cold sweat. "He's always been there," he whispered to himself. "I don't want to keep doing this." He fell back into his bed. "I need to end this." He slid out of bed and walked quietly into the living room. He'd remembered why he avoided sleep.